Hello, Solve community. This is Pradeep Goel, and it is an exciting day because I've been waiting to do this update with all of you for a while, and it has been very busy time. And I look back at this year and I go, oh my gosh, we have done so much. And yet I wondered when I was sitting and looking at the last 10 months, how much have we really communicated with all of you as to what we have done? So today, I want to talk to you about things that are really important from a strategic perspective, both looking back and looking forward. This is not a normal update where we cover a bunch of topics and give you a bunch of data points. I want to share with you where we have arrived at and where we are going from a macro perspective. The reason I want to do it this way, I was talking to a board member. I was in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, and they started to ask me a lot of questions. And of course, I gave them quarterly updates and they have seen all the reports and they've seen all the sessions. But the questions that they asked me, I realized that these are things that we take for granted that everyone understands. And if my board doesn't understand, then sure as heck, you don't either. So I spent some time with them, explained to them what we are doing, and they were very excited about what I shared with them. So I'm going to share with you. So you are my board for the day. And I'm giving you the update as I would to a board member. And I want you to understand where we are and where we are going. Why is that? Because in some ways we have committed to being that transparent and that there really aren't any secrets. And second, because you are our biggest supporter, you are our biggest asset. And whether you have a short-term view or a long-term view on Solve.Care, you are part of our family and part of our journey. So I want you to understand things at a very macro level. So let's talk about what I will cover today. So I will share with you our focus and our goal and the upcoming platform release, as well as the Global Telehealth Exchange. So these are the top 3 topics I want to cover with you. But before we get into anything, let me get into the first item. I want you to take a look at this picture because my board didn't understand it, and you probably haven't seen this picture before. So let's start with the question, what is Solve.Care Foundation and what do we do? So the foundation is actually an organization that you can think about as a holding company. And why it's important to understand it that way is because we do a lot of different things. Now, there are lots of crypto projects, blockchain companies, tech startups, and many of them do something or the other that we do as well. But I don't know of any organization that has this complete a view on our current and our future. So let's take a look and let me explain. I'm going to stand up and draw on the board as well, because I want you to really get this. So first, the foundation is a platform company. And on the left-hand side, we have on this picture, the platform. Now, what is the platform? Platform is a decentralized healthcare application and transaction platform. And the way I like to describe it to someone who is not in the blockchain world and the crypto world is, think of it as a Salesforce.com built with a different mindset, a different respect for the patient and the doctor. So we are a decentralized healthcare platform, but in terms of functionality, we want to do better than what Salesforce or similar systems do in terms of application enablement. But we are different. We allow for networked applications. We allow for decentralized apps. We allow for data ownership and control and sovereignty of the patient and the doctor. And we allow for complete auditability, and everything we do in our platform is immutable on the ledger. Those are all the properties of the platform. But what is the platform for? Who's going to use it? What's the point? The point is, this is a platform on which you can build healthcare applications that can redefine healthcare delivery. Okay. So you can build on the platform what is called care networks. And those care networks can be regional or local or global. And the idea is that you can build these networks very quickly. And those networks inherit the properties of the platform. They inherit the decentralized, autonomous capabilities of the platform. So when we started Solve.Care Foundation, we published the white paper and we described to you how the platform should be constructed. And what is really good is after 4 years, that vision is absolutely the right vision. And the execution is exactly in alignment with our white paper. So many people published white papers as ideas that didn't stand the test of time. I'm absolutely 100% unequivocally focused on everything we said in the white paper, because that's what we've been doing, and that's what we will do for the next 20 years. This is a platform company, and it's building the platform to change healthcare around the world. Now, the platform is powered by the Solve token, and increasingly, each year we are increasing the utility of Solve token in the platform. And I'm very excited to share with you the upcoming release of the platform, which further increases the utility of Solve token. But Solve is the gas of the platform, and it has two purposes. Solve is both a payment currency of the platform, and it is the gas of the platform. So you can use Solve either to transact between platform participants, or you can use it as a gas to power the transaction. So it serves two purposes, either as a payment currency between parties on the platform, or as the gas of the events on the platform. And there are many other use cases, but those are the two foundational use cases of Solve token. And then behind that, we are also building the Solve token exchange. And some of you may know, and some of you may not know, we have received the license for a digital exchange in Estonia, and we have the license to operate a digital wallet again. So we have the properly licensed ability to launch our own exchange. But our goal isn't to build a Binance or build another Kraken or KuCoin. No. That's not what we're doing. We're not a crypto trading company. Our job of the Solve token exchange is to make it easy for the platform participants to transact in Solve tokens and to hide them away from any kind of a crypto complexity. So the Solve token exchange is a bridge between the platform and the liquid markets like Binance and KuCoin and so on. So the idea here is, and the goal here is, platform is used by institutions, by doctors, by hospitals, by insurance companies, of the kind that I used to be part of, by government agencies, by even an enterprising, innovative physician who wants to rewrite the rule book of Medicaid or diabetes care or cancer care. And those people are building healthcare applications, as well as the crypto community challenging the way healthcare is done today and saying, why can't we do things better? Those of you who believe that healthcare should be done differently and better, the platform is your tool to make things better. Token is always present. Any transaction on the platform between party A and party B, the token is there in terms of gas. And if party A wants to pay party B, you have to use the token to move value between those parties. That's how the token powers the platform. And the exchange then converts all those in-network transactions into transactions on the public markets, thereby allowing the platform users to focus on the platform usage, and we handle the bridge between the crypto world and the non-crypto world. That's the platform company. But there is another part of Solve.Care Foundation that most people don't understand. And that is that we also have a network company. And the network company has built a lot of networks on our platform. So we have over the last 3.5 years built a number of care networks on our own platform. Many of you who are involved in the crypto space, hear about where's the use case? Where is the use case? When are we going to see the real use case? For us, that's never been a problem, because these networks are the use cases. So provider reward program that we built for Arizona Care Network, the non-emergency medical transportation we built for Medicaid of Arizona, the diabetes care network we built for Boehringer Ingelheim, the team care network we built for Aon in Philippines, and GTHE that we are building as our own network to launch around the world. These are use cases of our platform. And every time we build a network, we end up upgrading the platform and its capabilities, and we end up tinkering with the platform to making it stronger and better. So last 3 years, we built 5 major networks on the platform. And that is not the foundation's platform arm, that's the network arm. So this network arm is separate and apart from the platform arm. And this job of this team here is to build more clinical networks. And now we're looking to build additional networks, the remote patient monitoring. You heard about the recent partnership with the LiveCore and many more coming in that world. and mental health network that we are looking to build in collaboration with our Korean partners and focus on Alzheimer's and dementia and Parkinson. These are networks that are to be built. They're not built yet, but they are on the roadmap or on our plans to do. So you need to understand the difference. Why is that important? Because the long run, our goal is to migrate the middle leg of building networks to you. So our number one business objective now is not to build more networks. We will build the ones we have already planned, but to empower you to build networks moving forward. So our team in the middle today, the one that builds networks, will change its purpose to supporting you to build your networks. So instead of being the network authors, we will convert this organization into support for the community to author your own networks. And what's really exciting about that is that unexpectedly, but now obviously, as we look back logically, we are hearing from doctors around the world who want to build their own networks. I'm very excited to have these conversations with physicians who say, I just don't like the way healthcare is delivered in my corner of the world. And why can't I author my own network? Why can't I launch something that will actually improve life and health and wellness of my patients? And how will that whole thing work? And the more we educate them, the more they get excited. So my vision here has always been third parties will build networks. And I always believe that insurers, employers, TPAs, and developers will build it. But I'm excited to add to that right-hand side, the physician community. But that's really fundamental. Who talks to the patient and who should talk to the patient the most? It's not the insurance CIO. It's not the benefit administrator. It should be the doctor. And if the doctor starts authoring networks, or at least cards and journeys to make our networks better, then we would have conquered the world in the real sense. So that's our goal for 2022. So when I shared this picture with the board, they finally understood that we actually operate two different businesses. We operate the platform, blockchain, token, community, exchange business, and then we operate the network business, which is the actual use case of the platform. And they are independent and separate initiatives. Now, why I am sharing this with you? We were in conversations with a number of prominent blockchain projects in the last few weeks. We have been evaluating the options to migrate away from the Ethereum Enterprise Foundation layer that we use to support other blockchains. So we had a number of conversations that are ongoing. I will not divulge any names, that would violate the NDA, but you can take my word for it, that we are talking to a lot of the names that you are very familiar with. And when we were talking to one of the most prominent chains and their leadership, they said to us, look, we have a very robust chain and we have really good community, but frankly, we have no real use cases. And we love the fact that Solve.Care has spent its time over the last 3 years building use cases, and we'll do anything to migrate those use cases onto our platform. Now, the good news is for us to do that, we simply have to decouple the care node from one blockchain and recouple it with the other blockchain. It's not that overly complex. It's complex. Raj will kill me if I tell you it's not complex, but it is doable. Okay. So we are evaluating that. And the reason these chains want us is because of our networks. Our platform is great, and I think it's a real game changer. But what really excites the chain owners and proponents and builders and CEOs is that we have these real networks in real market that sit on top of our platform. And if we slide their chain under our platform, then they certainly inherit all the hard work and millions of dollars we have invested in the PRP, NEMT, GTHE, DCAN, Team Care, and the millions more we're investing in RPM and mental health. And the fact that when future doctors will build their own networks, they will automatically flow from the network to the platform, to the chain. And that creates enormous potential of real world adoption for them. So we're going to be very careful in choosing which chain or chains we end up supporting underneath our platform. We have been with the same chain for the last 4 years, but as technology evolves, we will support other chains as well. And that's where our conversations are underway. So having said that, this picture tells you a lot. Now, where does that take us? In terms of next year, my focus is on continuing to enhance the platform and the Solve token and the Solve token exchange operations capability and authoring capability. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But also to take these networks and monetize them further. So we will talk a lot about the Global Telehealth Exchange, which is our biggest, most prominent network today. And that network is certainly being organized into its own business unit and effectively being spun out. And we are also looking to combine PRP, NEMT, and Team Care into another business unit and spin it out, focus on the pair TPA ACO market. I'll explain that. And we are, of course, collaborating with Boehringer Ingelheim on the DCAN network as they are looking to bring it to market in a much bigger setting than it has previously been used. So this is a great time for us to restructure the organization. And that's what we are in the midst of doing. We are ensuring a completely separate and independent leadership team for the platform and a completely independent and separate leadership team for the networks, and ensuring that we have the infrastructure in place to support the community authors, the community networks built by you all, including the physicians who want to change healthcare. So that's the picture. And this picture should guide you to place our activity. When you hear about AliveCore or upcoming additional medical device partnerships, there are several. You will say to yourself, well, where does this fit? Well, that partnership fits in the network leg. We are expanding the potential value of networks here in a manner that millions of people can actually use one or more of these networks. When you hear about the upcoming platform release, that's on the left. That's about authoring. That's about enabling quicker community networks. When you hear about Solve Token Exchange, where does that go? That goes underneath a platform, because it's about enabling the platform to bridge between the crypto world and the healthcare world. So I want you to have this picture, because it is difficult at times to follow along as we move in all of these three directions at the same time. As we enhance the platform, as we make Solve token more liquid, as we try to inject more availability into Solve, when we try to get the Solve token exchange operational at a much bigger scale, you need to understand where we are coming from. So that's why I want to share with you the same picture I shared with the board. Now, let's go to the platform release topic. So in summer of this year, Raj and I presented to you all a roadmap for the platform. And we put forth a very aggressive agenda. And that agenda is what is wrapped up into, or that roadmap is what is being readied for release. We have done an internal release of the platform, and its code name is Helix. We haven't pushed it out to the market, but we've done an internal release. And we are now preparing a market release. The code name for this release is Andromeda. And of course, that's not going to be the product name, but this is just a project or a release name. And the Care Platform version Andromeda is designed for authoring of community networks. So a lot of things that we said we were going to do, we did. I want to talk about three things there. Before the end of the year, what we are launching in the new version of the platform are three things, among others. There are many, but I want to focus on 2 or 3 things because those are important to me and important to the community. The first is the authoring of care cards and care journeys that are automatically tokenized. What does that mean? I'll talk about in a minute. And the second item is the ability to define network participation rules. And the third and the most important thing here is the expanded utility of Solve token at the event level. So let's talk about each of those. So in terms of authoring new networks, the Andromeda release is designed for the application developer, the network author, to presume certain functionality, to have access to certain functionality without having to essentially code anything. The first and foremost is that every role that you define in the network is automatically tokenized and turned into a smart contract. So when you define the role, you don't write smart contracts. But once you finish defining the role, that role gets converted into a contract automatically. What that does is every role can be audited by third parties, and every role operates in a consistent, reliable manner. A role can be a doctor, can be a patient, can be a family member, can be an insurance broker, can be an insurance company, can be a pharmacy, or can be a pharmaceutical company, or can be a taxi driver, or can be an at-home aide nurse. It can be, a friend that you want to involve in your care circle. Roles are limited only by your imagination as a network author. But once you define the role, it becomes immutable automatically. And that gives everybody the comfort that there can be no violation of what the role is and is not permitted to do. And that part has been achieved in the Andromeda release. The second part that is really important is for the network author to decide how and when and which care wallet can join the network. And this was a really complex issue because the network author may want to restrict the access to the network based on geography or based on age or gender or based on disease condition or based on their ability to pay or not pay, or even make network participation subject to you having so many Solve tokens in your wallet, and on and on and on. So the idea of authoring the network participation rules was born earlier this year. The network participation to the care wallet is important, but defining network participation as a describable, authorable functionality, that has been quite a challenge, and it has been largely accomplished in Andromeda, and I think there'll be another release or two where we have achieved nirvana. But that's a huge step forward because it's really important not just to author networks, but to have the safety of the network, where the network author knows for sure that people joining the network are the right people in the right roles. Otherwise, you can end up with fraud or abuse or people getting hurt, because this is healthcare we're talking about. There are compliance issues. So that's really important, and that has been accomplished. And the third thing, which is really important, is that anytime a network participant, let's say A, transacts with network participant B, that AB transaction, you can set the price of that transaction at the event level in Solve tokens between 0 and X. And you can define whether the event publisher or the event receiver has to pay for that transaction, or the network sponsor. Allows every kind of commerce possible. I could, as a doctor, publish an event where I request every patient in my patient list to make an appointment with me for annual checkup. And if they accept that event, they would automatically be paying with Solve tokens out of their wallet. And if they reject the event, then nothing happened. So those are examples of automated transactions. So you can charge fees at a transaction level. And of course, we collect that fee. Or you can make token a payment token where I can attach a token to a care card, send it to the other wallet, and they can detach the token and redeem it. In doing so, I'm effectively paying somebody like I'm paying somebody with a check. So there are both these uses of Solve token inside the platform. The currency use and the gas or the utility use, they are both configurable. They were always possible, but that required coding, and now we are moving greater configurability. So that means more authoring. I've talked enough about technology. We can go on and on and on, and I'm sure that those of you who are interested in starting to author networks will be reaching out to us, and we will share with you the much more detailed technical documentation and publishing it on GitHub. But the point here is the focus right now of this release is community network authoring. And that's been the goal for most of this year. And as we get closer to releasing this version of the platform, we are focused much more on enabling the community to author these networks than us authoring. Now it's not an or condition, it's an and condition. We will author more networks, but so will you. And both sides will move in parallel. But my goal is that in the next coming years, we author less and less networks, and we work with third parties to author more and more networks. And my ideal is that all future networks that Solve.Care wants to sponsor, we will simply bring them to community as projects, and the community will author them. And we'll help the community with funding and or with ideas or both to author networks, but they should be community authored. So I don't want to be in the business of authoring networks when the community is the one who's going to benefit the most. So that's where we are with the platform. Now let's get to the meat of this presentation. Global Telehealth Exchange, this entity in the middle. Now, Global Telehealth Exchange is our latest network. We built 5. In 2018, we built provider rewards program. Then in 2019, we built, in 18 again, we built non-emergency medical transportation with Uber and Lyft. Then in 19, we started to focus on the diabetes care network that took most of the year. And then in 20, we built the team care and GTHE, 20 and 21. Especially because we were driven by what has happened to the healthcare space post-COVID or during COVID and post-COVID. So those made a lot of sense. Now, GTHE is the largest, most complex network we have ever built, and we will continue to invest in it. But the objective here is to take GTHE as a network and make it its own business unit. So we have incorporated a new organization in the United States called Global Telehealth Inc. That organization is based in Wyoming. And this organization will inherit all the GTHE asset and all its people. So we're going to spin GTHE out into Global Telehealth Inc. We are deep in the middle of doing that. All the logistics, the legal paperwork, and everything is underway. And I expect it to be completed next week or in a couple of weeks latest. And GTHI, Global Telehealth Inc., will own the Global Telehealth Exchange and will operate it worldwide. As part of that, the Global Telehealth Inc. will be given its own management team. I want to stay focused at the foundation level. And even though I'm providing the necessary guidance to Global Telehealth today, the goal is to have it run as an autonomous, independent business unit. So some of you might have seen our search for Global Telehealth president that started earlier this year, and we have narrowed down candidates to lead Global Telehealth. But I'm very pleased to say that we have also brought in some very powerful operations executive who we will announce shortly, as well as we have repositioned some of our IT team in the middle layer to become dedicated GTHE team. And long and short of it is GTH, Global Telehealth Inc. and Global Telehealth Exchange are moving out from being Solve.Care Foundation funded to independently funded. And Global Telehealth Inc. is raising capital to continue to grow. And we are getting excellent support from the state, from various local business community, as well as physician community, and most importantly, excellent traction with the investment community. So the objective here is that near the end of the year or early next year, Global Telehealth Exchange under the entity name of Global Telehealth Inc. will spin out into its own organization. And in doing so, we expect it to scale rapidly and drive significant usage of Solve token, but also to generate significant revenues as a standalone business unit and to generate significant profitability. So the foundation will become a stockholder, a shareholder of Global Telehealth Inc. instead of being an operator. And the operations of Global Telehealth Inc. will be independent and autonomous. Why is that important? Because of focus. We want to stay focused as in foundation on the platform, on the token, on the exchange, on you as a community of developers, the left column and the right column. But every network that we have or that we plan to build, we see them as business units that are run and led by a network owner, a network executive whose job is to grow that network worldwide. So this allows us to run in parallel because we shouldn't have to trade off our commitment to the platform, token, and community with focus on the networks. And they both deserve equal focus because we want to be ultimately the de facto healthcare platform, not just from a sense of crypto and blockchain, but really from a sense of delivering the most value to the patient and the provider. And the more networks we create, the more interoperability there is through the Care Wallet, the more we become the indefeatable solution. Because when a GTHE patient can just jump over to DCAN network or can participate in Team Care network or sign up for RPM by simply swiping in a new card, then our ability to expand our value proposition is not that different than a network model that you see in Amazon, or you see the network model of services and products and intersection of hardware and software that Apple is doing, or what we see now. Many of the behemoths who are trying to say, look, technology is not enough. I need to have an ecosystem that delivers value to the consumer in multiple ways so they don't leave me. And in that sense, we have the same exact vision for the last 4 years. Let's build an ecosystem which is not just a technologically sound platform with a strong token behind it, but also such diverse utility that every human being on the planet finds at least one of the networks to be attractive at any point in their life. So that's to achieve that, our community of network builders has to really get strong and get big, and that's where the focus needs to be. We have proven the point that you can build networks and interoperate them. The point now is it's your turn to build these networks. But going back to the Global Telehealth Exchange, there are 5 things I want to share with you. First is it's being separated into its own business unit, where Foundation is a majority shareholder, and the operational responsibility falls on the GTHE president and the underlying executive team. Second, we are getting very strong financial community support in funding it, which means that it will be independently funded. Third, we have done extensive analysis of its business model, both by internally and by third parties. And we are confident that GTHE will generate significant revenue over the next coming years and generate significant Solve utility. Fourth point is that the state where we are positioning Global Telehealth Exchange and Global Telehealth Inc. is very excited about being party to this. And why is that? Because GTHE is not just a technology platform, it's also a services company. Behind the platform, there is a provider support team, several hundred people, in fact, who are responsible for ensuring that providers around the world, doctors around the world, can practice medicine more efficiently. Our model in Global Telehealth Exchange is the more money the doctor makes, the more money we make, because we are essentially a support team for the doctor. So in that regard, we are marrying the GTHE product, the network, to a support organization, which then generates a concierge experience for the doctor, if I can summarize it that way. So we stand to create hundreds of jobs under the GTHI umbrella, and the state understands that, and they're very excited about supporting us, and you will hear a lot more on that as things progress. The last thing that I want to share with you is that everything that happens in GTHE ultimately results in a Solve transaction or multiple Solve transactions. So our purpose in Global Telehealth Exchange is twofold. One is to deliver better healthcare access to everyone on the planet. And the second is to make sure that every healthcare transaction is tokenized on Solve. And those things are built in and they are being continuously enhanced. And I think there is an opportunity to expand GTHE use of Solve by allowing the GTHE participants to buy devices. And again, this is why there is such a focus on device partnerships and device manufacturers. And we're very excited and thankful that one of the very creative, very well sought after device manufacturer, AliveCore, has partnered with us, and we are now in a very deep and collaborative relationship with them, both in terms of GTHE and RPM. But I would also say that that's just the beginning. There are several other device partnerships, including the ones that AliveCore has introduced us to, where we are working through further inclusion of other devices, blood pressure monitors, weight scales, glucose monitors, oximeters, and more advanced home diagnostic tools and devices. So this is going to be a stream of very powerful relationships that we are looking to build, and those are all in underway. We'll keep you informed as they get finalized. The last point I want to make is that all the other networks we have built provide a rewards program, non-emergency medical transportation, and team care. But those three networks were built by us for clients. We are going to convert them into a own standalone business unit. And that business unit, we are calling it our TPA, pair, and ACO organization focused. So those are enterprise solutions, which will be remarketed to all the enterprise health organizations and benefit organizations of the kind that I used to be affiliated with. And the notion here is that we have given you these networks independently, but combined, these three networks are a lot more powerful than each network independently, and they're interoperable. So the repackaging of PRP and EMT and team care will result in a new company, which will then stand alone on its own 2 feet and will market these solutions to governments and solution organizations around the world, healthcare organizations around the world. Now, DCAN, of course, is a Boehringer Ingelheim network. They own it. It's their network. We support them, but we are supporting them more and more actively because post-COVID, there is a lot more activity in the space where Boehringer wants to position diabetes care network. So stand by on that. It's certainly something that we support. We don't lead that effort, but we do see significant activity developing there. No more can be said because it'll be Boehringer's decision to announce what they are doing in the market when they see fit. But that's who we are. We are a platform company, we're a network company, and we're a community company. And our vision and focus is to independently separate and create management teams for each of these areas and run them under leadership that every track has its own independent financing, independent thought process, and leadership that is focused on it 100%. Let's talk a little bit about the community. There has been a lot of investment made in the platform and a lot of investment made in the network. And certainly a lot of investment being made, as we promised you this year, in the Solve token and its liquidity and availability. And we continue to do that as a high priority. And there is significant investment made in the Solve token as a bridge, Solve token exchange as a bridge between the crypto and the healthcare world. But now the focus, in addition to these items, has to be on the community development. So I have given clear instructions to the team, to the leadership, that we need to have much more activity to support the community developers, be it hackathons, be it paid projects, be it incubation type of funding for people with great ideas in healthcare who want to build something, a new network on a platform, be it advisory function where I can validate or my team can validate when somebody comes to us and says, I want to do this kind of a network. Is it compliant? Is it legal? Is it appropriate? So there is a lot of things that go into building clinical and financial and healthcare networks. And our job is to help you make the right decision and launch really powerful networks on our platform. And I've been meeting with a number of physicians, and so has been the team, who have expressed interest in building networks like pediatric care, who have expressed interest in building networks for care coordination, things that we love to support. But the goal here is for the physician to author the network and for us to support them rather than author the network for them. So that's the marching orders for everyone to focus on, is focus on the community and the community's ability to develop networks. To be clear, that was not our focus in the past. We were focused on using our platform to build the networks ourselves. Now we shift the focus to building the networks through the eyes and ears and arms and brain of third parties and community members who want to change healthcare. The last thing that I want to talk about is the focus on the Solve token. That's always on our mind. We're always looking at how we can make sure that network author feels comfortable with the fact that the token is the gas, the token is the payment currency. So there are two stakeholders that matter. One is a network author, the second is a network participant. The network author needs to have the confidence that a Solve token based gas mechanism for this network can work safely and reliably, where their network will not end up with hugely variable cost. So we've been working on this mechanism of Solve being a dual form token and a very complex algorithm which says you can either deposit Solve into the network as a variable value or a fixed value token. And if you deposit the Solve token into the network as a deposit value redemption, then essentially Solve token price is fixed for the duration of its existence inside the network. So we have worked through all of this complexity. Some of you followed us along probably know this, and some of you who haven't or haven't really remembered this, that's been the model we have used. Now we get into a much more bigger conversation where the role of Solve token exchange becomes more important in managing the network cost variability. So we're doing two things. One, we are enhancing the Solve token exchange, and the second, we're looking at potentially supporting other blockchains as the event ledger underneath a Care network, and relinking the Care node to these different chains with the idea that if the chain can guarantee us a more stable transaction cost in terms of Solve, then we can support a bigger variety of networks. And the second thing that we are focused on is the authorability. So the Care protocol is how you author a network. You author a Care protocol. When you publish a Care protocol, you basically publish a network. And within the protocol, you define roles and relationships, cards and journeys, events and event prices, and redemption rules, and so on and so forth. So the protocol is our application protocol, which essentially defines a full healthcare solution in the context of the Solve.Care platform. And then it helps you use the underlying blockchain capabilities by simply declaring how you want to use them. So those are the key areas of focus: community programs and authorability, better authorability of cards and networks, so that you can all develop these networks starting later this year or early next year, depending upon how quickly we can roll out the documentation. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is partnerships. There is a heavy focus on partnerships. We, of course, will only announce them when they are signed. But what we have announced is what we have signed, and there are more in the works that we are looking to do. But where is those partnerships going? Why are they even relevant? So in terms of the blockchain partnerships, those fall under the platform arm. Whatever we do in terms of enhancing the platform capability, reducing the cost of the transaction, speeding up the transaction on the platform, enhancing the Solve token liquidity, making Solve token exchange more powerful, those are platform partnerships. And then there are a whole host of partnerships on the network side. So for instance, we are looking at partnerships with more device manufacturers to improve our network capability. We're looking at partnerships with various mental health agencies and diabetes agencies to improve our content and quality of the networks. And we are looking at various other partnerships to distribute the PRP and EMT and team care to the insurance government agency space. So you will see those partnerships, and I want you to understand them, because not every partnership is the same. Some partnerships dramatically change our platform, and some partnerships dramatically change our network. They're all going to come and they all add value to the Solve in the end, but each partnership has its own purpose. So having said that, there is a heavy focus on partnerships, and there will be even greater focus because now we have clear need for partners, both on the tech side as well as on the network side. Now, it would be to wrap up, because we're going to run out of time here shortly, this is the presentation I made to my board. I explained to them our business model. I explained to them the structure of the company. I explained to them why we invest in certain areas and not in other areas. And I explained to them why we are focused on with such a significant allocation of funds in the community. And they got it. And I hope you did too today. And their next question to me was, so what worries you? What bothers you? This is great. We love this strategy. This is basically trying to build the Amazon of healthcare services. I don't like that comparison, but I get the point. You're trying to build a global healthcare ecosystem, both tech ecosystem as well as use cases, as well as a community, as well as a wallet and interoperability. There's a lot of value here. The question then is, what are the risks? So there are a few. The most fundamental risk that I see is ensuring that we are not dependent upon a single person, including myself. So I would say that if I were to focus on ensuring, not if I were, since I'm focused on ensuring Solve.Care and Solve Token and Solve platform longevity, I want this company to be independent and a global powerhouse, not just today, but in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, then we need to really focus on de-risking the key man risk. And that would be a key concern in my mind. Right now, if any one of the key members of the team got indisposed for any reason, including myself, it would have a significant impact on the company, and that is too much of a risk. So we're working on that. And my board encouraged me to work on that. The second thing that we have as a risk is if we miss our deadlines. And I repeat this to my team every day, every meeting, that don't overcommit, underpromise, overdeliver, and missing deadline is about as close to death as we can get. So do not miss deadlines. Now, sometimes they're unavoidable, but that should be the exception, not the rule. And I think that's an important element because clients, when I'm sitting in my old chair at Blue Cross or at WebMD or at any of the other organizations where I was an executive, and my vendor missed a deadline, I would have a concern about them for a period of time till they demonstrated through performance that was an exception, not the rule. So for large organizations to work with us, we have to have a very rigorous focus on meeting our deadlines, whatever they are, big or small. And that is where I spend most of my time reminding and managing and encouraging the managers and rewarding them to be very deadline oriented. The third risk that I shared with my board was, of course, a crypto market risk. And I said to them, the way I plan to decouple from the risks of Bitcoin movement in the market is to have each of these networks be independently funded and commercially viable. So it doesn't matter what the price is, as long as we are generating significant revenue and token utility in the network, then the price will actually reflect utility, not market sentiment. So spinning out GTHE, spinning out PRP, NEMT, TeamCare into separate business units with its own funding mechanism, more traditional funding mechanism, allows us to scale dramatically and still reap the benefits of these networks being tokenized, because they're all tokenized. None of them can operate in the new version of the platform without consuming Solve as a gas fee. So therefore, the objective here is not to be tied to the network's business model, but to tie the network performance or network transactions to tokens. So no matter what the network does, token gets utilized. So we therefore de-risk the company fundamentally. The second approach to that is to have the community build a bunch of networks, which therefore leads to a decoupling from the market further, because those who are authoring healthcare networks are more concerned about delivering healthcare, which is a persistent need, rather than building a crypto exchange protocol. So that gives us much more resilience and staying power in the market. More networks equals more transactions equals more utility of the platform and token, and it gives us a diversified revenue stream. So I've covered a lot with you. I've addressed with you what we have done, where we are and where we are going. And I've covered with you what I think the risks are and how we can manage them. This is in effect a brief presentation, a slightly abbreviated version of the version that I presented to the board. That took about 2 hours to do. I've done this in about 45 minutes. And why I did that is because I want you to understand the reason behind what we do. I want you to understand how to place what you hear from us in the right context. And I want you to understand that we are playing the game to build a global ecosystem of healthcare of the kind that has never been built before. And I am extremely confident or perhaps optimistic or both, but certainly excitedly looking forward to what the community will do with the platform, and looking forward to the spinning out of the GTHE and the spin out of the NEMT, PRP, TeamCare organizations into independently run business units, so that we can start to demonstrate the kind of staying power and growing power that people only talk about. People have only started to talk about use cases in the last few months, and we have tons of use cases that we need to remonetize and republish. So that's what we are doing. I know there'll be tons of questions about other matters that are important to you, and you want to hear those answers. And I would be more than happy to do a written AMA or a chat AMA with you all. But this particular session, I wanted you to be a fly on the wall as in one of my board meetings. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have tons of questions, and I look forward to hearing from all of you. Before we go, I want to say two more things. One, the Solve team works incredibly hard, sometimes in the face of fierce criticism, and sometimes in the face of very difficult odds. And we are here because of these people, because of the team's relentless belief that we are doing something to change the world and build a global organization that will live for decades and that will bring blockchain to the masses. And I think they do a fantastic job. So when you speak with them, please do me a favor and remind them that regardless of what is going on or what is or is not done, you appreciate them, because I certainly do. And the second thing that I'll say is that I appreciate all of you. I get some days are hard, right? You wake up and you think, okay, this has been a long road and a tough road. And, am I doing the right thing? And there are moments when you just don't have strength. And then I remember all the people in the company and all the people outside the company who have believed in us and continue to believe in us. And I get back on the horse and I put in another 18-hour day, because there is so much strength we derive from you. Even when you're not happy with us, even when you have a disagreement with our approach, we know that you believe and you care. And that's why I really get an enormous amount of strength whenever I have the time, and I don't very often, I try to read some community comments or talk to some of you. Understand that you're important to us. You give us the strength to keep going, because what we are doing is not easy and it's not going to be quick, but it is something that will change the world for the better. And last thing I'll say is this, we all have a reason to be, and it's not to live and to feed ourselves and to die, is to make the world a better place. A life well lived must be measured in the context of the impact we had on the world, and did we make it a little bit better than when we found it. And in that regard, I'm very proud, because Solve does everyday things that really do bring healthcare to people that don't have healthcare options that they should have. Be it GTHE or be it NEMT, everything that we have done has always been done with the intention of getting people well quicker and keeping them healthier. And I think we have a lot more value we can bring when you start building these networks. But everything that has been done and that is being planned is all with your children and your parents in mind. So that mission in itself will never change, but your support makes it that much more possible. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you paying attention to this very complex presentation where I shared with you a lot of information, but I do hope that this will give you the right context and it'll get you as excited as we are. And we are certainly committed and remain committed to delivering on everything that I've told you here. But when I look back on this year, my first thought is, my goodness, we did a lot. And I think that you would agree once you see the complete picture, and I've given you a pretty good glimpse of that. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again.